Hello, today I want to show you an interesting property of horsetail spores. But first, watch as the spine comb opens as it dries. If I warm it up, it will dry faster. There, now back to the horsetails. Here is a quick summary of their life cycle, illustrated with a common horsetail, Equisetum arvense. A diploid sporophyte stage with fertile and sterile stems, production of haploid spores, short gametophyte stage, fertilization, and back to the diploid sporophyte. All you really need to know for this video is that from spores grow new plants. The common horsetail has fertile stems on the left and sterile stems on the right. The fertile stems produce spores and the sterile stems make photosynthesis. Let's go have a look outside to see if we can find some horsetails. It's the beginning of April. We should be able to find the first fertile stems coming out of the ground. Here is one. This one is still closed. Open, they look like this, filled with green spores ready to fly out. This one, for example. Let's shake it to see the spores fly out. The sterile stems will come later. Let's collect some spores. The silver birch, Betula pendula, is a typical wind-pollinated tree of the Betulaceae family. It is a monoecious species, meaning it has separate male and female flowers but on the same plant. Unlike the female catkins, which are just coming out of the buds along with the leaves, the male catkins already grew last year. That way, they are now ready to open and release the pollen, which is carried away by wind. If lucky, the pollen then lands on a female flower, which is so fertilized and produces seeds. Let's collect some pollen. That should be enough. Now the little experiment I wanted to show you. Some water, one pile of birch pollen, one pile of horsetail spores. Now let's watch this dry in time-lapse. As one could expect, the drying pollen just forms a hard crust. But look what happens to the horsetail spores. They become all fluffy. Once dried out, the pollen firmly sticks to the ground, but the horsetail spores can easily be blown away. Isn't that amazing? Pollen needs to reach the female flowers. If it lands on the ground, it is as good as lost. Spores, on the other hand, need to reach the ground, for they are going to germinate and grow into a new plant. But they need an earthy, humid surface to germinate. I'll try again, but this time on a really smooth surface. If the spores are washed onto a surface like a rock, there is no hope for successful germination. But if the wind could just blow them a little further. But that is only possible if they are very loose, fluffed up, hence this amazing mechanism. But how do the spores manage to do that? To see that, we need to have a look at them under the microscope. This is a dry mix of horsetail spores and birch pollen. Watch what happens when I add water. I just need to focus again. There. The birch pollen have not changed at all, but the horsetail spores look completely different. Dry, they have 4 long paddle-form arms. Wet, those arms are rolled up around the spores. When those spores dry up again, those extensions open up, fluffing up the spores and allowing them to be carried away by the wind. It's now the end of May. The horsetail fertile stems have disappeared, and the sterile stems have grown. I'll take one to have a look at it under the microscope. It looks really quite nice. Cutting some thin sections, and there we go. Isn't that beautiful?